In this English pronunciation tutorial, you're going to learn to tell the difference between all of the words that you see behind me on the board. You're going to learn to tell the difference and how to tell the difference between the vowel sounds O, a, or, R, and O. And to put them into words to give you some context, you're going to learn how to recognize and to clearly pronounce the difference between coat, curt, cat, court, cut, cart, and cot. Now, it's highly likely that if English isn't your native language, then you don't have at least one of these sounds in your language. And if you don't, then the English pronunciation of these sounds can potentially cause you difficulties and catch you out and ultimately leave you mispronouncing words. And the words that you see behind me, there's so many vowel sounds that all come from quite a similar position in the mouth. And especially if you don't know actually the logic behind them, then it can leave you making a lot of unnecessary mistakes, okay? So these are the words and sounds that we're going to go through. I'm now going to come to the other side of the board so you can actually see exactly how we're going to learn to tell the difference. So I'm going to start by breaking each sound down into a few different principles that apply to all different sounds, okay? So all the sounds we're looking at are vowel sounds. That means that the airflow comes out unobstructed. For consonant sounds, there's something that makes the airflow come out in a different fashion. So take the T sound, t, 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 your tongue is temporarily blocking airflow. With vowel sounds, airflow can flow out naturally without anything stopping it, okay? So what I have done to simplify the process of correctly learning vowel sounds is I've made some tricks and things that you can essentially use to make it very, very simple and easy to understand, because it's very easy to get lost in technical terminology when you're learning sounds. But all you want really is practical advice that you can use to easily understand what you need to know and make it very easy to then integrate into your speech. So let's get started. What you'll see behind me, first of all, is some numbers. So what I like to do when teaching pronunciation is show you how wide the mouth is open by using fingers, because if I just say your mouth is 3/4 open or half open or 78% open, it's very, very hard to actually feel what that is. But as soon as you have fingers that you can just put in between your teeth, all of a sudden then actually it becomes very easy to feel, okay, yeah, this is roughly how wide my mouth should be, okay? So we're going to be using fingers to help us to identify how wide our mouth should be open for these sounds. And then I'm going to break down some other things as well. So let's start with some basic groundwork. Any vowel sound in English that you see two dots after when it's written like this, like these three here, mean that they are long English vowel sounds. There's two kinds of English vowel sounds. There's long vowel sounds and there's short vowel sounds. So a prime example of that, what you see behind me here, is court and cut. Or is a long vowel sound, it lasts, or, and is a very short vowel sound, okay? And one of the main things that catches people out is actually just knowing the length of the vowel sound. So let's start by just working our way down. We'll work from the top of the mouth down, and then we'll get to these four here in the corner. And these four tend to be four of the trickiest because they all come from a very similar position in the mouth. And if you don't know how to tell the difference, then you're going to get caught out. So let's go. So first of all, this one here, I'm going to circle it in green so you can see what I'm doing. This word here, which would be coat in the top one here, okay? This is a diphthong, which means that it's made of two vowel sounds that are put together to form a new vowel sound where you're actually transitioning as you make it. So with coat, and this sound applies to no or go or so, it's the O diphthong. And what that means is you're starting in the schwa position. This sound here is called the schwa in English, and you're going up to, oh, thank you for the like, I can see that coming in. And you're going up to the position, okay? So most people don't actually realize that the schwa sound is a sound in English because it never gets taught in traditional English classes, okay? But the schwa sound, this one here, is the most common vowel sound in the whole of English. Hi Lisa, thanks for tuning in. Hi Isabel, thank you for tuning in as well. So these two sounds here form the diphthong O, 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 okay? Very, very important sound to get right because it appears in high frequency words like go, no, and so, okay? So to get this sound right, you need to start with your mouth wide enough open for 1.5 fingers to go between your teeth. So that would look like this. There's more space than just one, but there's not enough space for two. So that would look like this. Okay, you're starting in the schwa position, which is space for 1.5 fingers in between the teeth. You're then going up to the position, where there is only space for 1 finger between the teeth. So let's just put those two sounds together to make the O diphthong, okay? O, 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 O. If you're not familiar with the schwa sound, it's actually a really easy sound to make because it comes from the middle of your mouth. Sounds that come from the front of your mouth, like this one here, which is a, compared to sounds that come from the back of your mouth, like or r. The schwa comes from the middle, so all you're really doing is opening your mouth and just going Imagine you've just woken up in the morning and you're really tired and you're saying what time is it? It's that sound, okay? So you're starting in the schwa position, space for 1.5 fingers, and you're going up to So in words that have this diphthong in, it's very important to start in the position and go up. You're transitioning. O, O, O. Hey Roman, thanks for tuning in. Hope you're doing well. So in the word then, that would sound like this. Coat, coat, coat. Okay, can you see my mouth is actually transitioning? Coat, all right? So I hope you're finding it. Follow along with me whilst I'm making the sounds. Follow along with me, okay? Coat, coat, coat. The next word that I want to break down is curt, okay? It's not a high frequency word in English, but the purpose of me giving you the example of this word here is to compare the sounds. So the sound for curt, again, there's space for 1.5 fingers in between the teeth. The sound it's more or less a long schwa sound. So we just looked at the schwa To make the sound correctly, all you want to do is hold that for a longer period of time. If you don't have long vowel sounds in your language, and many people don't, this can cause a lot of problems. And to practice making long vowel sounds correctly, not just this one, but any of the 5 long vowel sounds that we have in English, I created what I call the 2-second rule, which will enable you to get comfortable holding long vowel sounds for 2 seconds when you're in practice mode. Because if you can't hold a long vowel sound for 2 seconds when you're training, when you speed up into everyday speech, you're going to make long English vowel sounds as short English vowel sounds, And that's where so many difficulties come from. For example, E and I, or and oo, or O and O, okay? So it's really important to be able to practice, like we are now, making long vowel sounds for 2 seconds. So let's have a go. This sound here is so we've got space for 1.5 fingers, and we're just going to hold that for 2 seconds. So follow along with me. Okay, now if we put that into the word, we've got the k sound before it, k, and the t sound after it. So it's going to sound like this. Curt, curt, curt. Again, make sure you're holding it for 2 seconds. Curt, 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 curt. Okay, so that's the next vowel sound, curt. Let's just compare the two. The first two we've looked through already. We've got coat, curt, coat, curt, coat, curt, coat, curt. Okay, that's the first two. Now let's move on to the next one. So the two sounds that we've looked at the moment both start in the middle of the mouth. Okay, we're now going to look at the a vowel sound in English, okay, which comes from the front of our mouth. It's this one here. So a lot of people confuse the a vowel sound, which comes from the front of the mouth, with these sounds back here, which we're going to look at afterwards. Also the e vowel sound in English, as in set compared to sat, okay? We're not going to look at set or in too much detail now, because I've covered that in other tutorials, and I really want to focus on these ones here for now, okay? But let's talk about this in a bit more detail. So to get the a sound correct, there's a few things we need to know. First of all, there is 2 fingers in between our teeth. There's space for 2 fingers in between our teeth. Okay, if there's only space for 1.5 and your tongue is at the front of your mouth, it would sound like If we go to cat, cat. Okay, there's space for 2 fingers between the teeth. This is very important, all right? Comparing that to the back of the mouth, here's some practical advice, okay? Because it's easy to say this comes from the front, this comes from the back, but what does that actually mean? For a, the tip of my tongue is right behind my bottom teeth. Look, For these sounds here, where they come from the back of my mouth, the tongue pulls back in the mouth. I'll just make these 2 quickly. I'll explain them afterwards. Or. I hope you can see into my mouth. Or. Okay. The tongue is pulling back in the mouth. So that's really important. That's one of the key difficulties or key things to know if you want to get this right. What about mouth position? Because the mouth position is the other thing that people often really struggle with. I'm going to make the a sound, and I want you to look at my mouth. Okay? You can see my teeth. And if you do this sound now, follow along with me. My lips, and your lips too, should be tense. They're stretched, so they should be tensed. It's like your teeth are, or your lips are almost forming a rectangle, like this. Okay? It's like Your lips are stretched wide apart, almost like a rectangle. Okay? I'm just going to pause there. does anyone have any questions at this stage on what I've gone through so far? Okay, if you do, just put them in here and I will answer them as we go through. Okay, so the lips are stretched wide apart. Ah, ah, ah. They're tense. Ah, ah, ah. Another way, and I highly recommend when you're practicing, either do it in your smartphone camera so you can see back, or do it in a mirror. My lips are so wide for the ah sound, ah, 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 that if I had two pens, I'll use my fingers instead, ah, I would be poking myself in the eyes. Ah, ah, ah. Okay, this is a very critical point to be aware of, because for the sounds, these two here that you see, my lips are a lot closer in. Okay, so this is ah. Let's now compare ah to these two sounds here. Okay, the final thing I'll mention about ah is it's a short English vowel sound. It's like this: ah, ah, ah. Not a long one, it's not ah, it's ah. Okay, so what are these two sounds here? This is the long English vowel sound or, as in caught, and this is as in cut. Okay, so both these vowel sounds come from the back of our mouth. Our tongue pulls back in the mouth. The width of our lips, I'm going to compare ah to these two now, okay? So ah, ah, ah. I'm going to poke myself in the eyes. Ah, ah, ah. For or, as in caught, or. My lips are as wide as my nose. Or. Ah, or. Ah, or. Ah, or. The width of my mouth stays the same. There's space for two fingers. Ah, or. Ah, or. Ah, or. But for both of these sounds, because my lips are coming in a lot more, they're relaxed. Look at this. Or. And the other one, the short one, ah. My lips are relaxed compared to ah, where they're really tight. All right? So what I want to do now is to help you understand and to group things together and to give you a bit more context. I'm going to look at all four of these together now, okay? So there's a few things we need to know. I'm just going to pull the camera down a little bit so you can see a bit better. There's two sounds here that are long vowel sounds. This one here where you see the two dots and this one here. This is or, as in I caught the ball. This one here is are, as in a cart, a shopping cart. Okay, think of your Amazon shopping cart. So these two here are long vowel sounds. You hold them for 2 seconds. Caught, cart, caught, cart. And these two here are short. O. All right. So there's these, you can look at these two in two ways. These two are long, or are, and these two are short, and o. But these two are rounded. I beg your pardon, that's incorrect. It's the other two that are rounded. It's these two that your lips are in the rounded position, and these two your lips are unrounded. So let me explain what that means in a bit more detail. Or, as in caught. Look how rounded my lips are. They're circular. Or. Okay, my lips actually come in to form a circle. For which is the same height as or, my lips are unrounded. They're just loose and They're not forming a circle, they're just there. Okay, the lips are very, very relaxed. For the very bottom of our mouth, 2.5 fingers between the teeth, so more than 2, we've got O as in not or got, okay? Let me open my mouth and just make the sound so you can see. O, got, o. Okay, my lips here are rounded. O. That's compared to R, the long English vowel sound R as in car, where they're unrounded. Let's compare these two. We've got rounded O, which is short, and we've got the long R, which is long and unrounded, okay? So I'll just summarize these and then we can actually recap all the words together, okay? We've got space for 2 fingers in between our teeth for these 2 sounds. One is long, one is short. The long one on this height is rounded, and on this height, the short one is unrounded. When you open your mouth to 2.5 fingers, they just flip round. The rounded one becomes long, unrounded, and the short one, the one that becomes short, is then rounded, o. So the words behind me are now going to show you in context with the diagram here what we're talking about. We've got caught, cut. Again, caught, cut, caught, cut, caught, cut, caught, cut. I'll just bring a into the equation now so you can see that in comparison. Cat, caught, cut. Cat, caught, cut. Cat, caught, cut. Cat, caught, cut. Now I'll compare these two, so 2 fingers to 2.5 fingers. We've got caught, cart, caught, cart, caught, cart. Rounded, unrounded. Caught, cart, caught, cart. And these two, cut, cot. It flips around. This one goes unrounded and this one becomes rounded. Both short. Cut, cot. Cut, cot. Cut, cot. Cut, cot. Okay? Now let's compare this one here with this one here, because this one sounds a little bit like a long, or as close to a long ah sound as you're going to get. In English, we don't have a long ah. If you hear this sound, ah, you'll never hear ah in words. We just don't have it, okay? What we do have is are, as in, are you going to be there? I hope so. Or car, or farther, or far away. That's this one here, long R, okay? So let's go cat, cart, cat, cart, cat, cart, cat, cart. All right? At this stage, does anyone have any questions? We've covered quite a few different sounds here from a few different positions in the mouth, but I frequently hear people confusing not necessarily all of these sounds in one go, but you'll often hear people confusing ah with ah very, very commonly, and that's a tricky one for a lot of people to get right. So ah versus ah, that would be cat versus cut. Let's look at that. Ah, wide and stretched, ah, versus ah, relaxed and in together, ah, okay. You could also hear this one being confused, as in curt, with this one here, caught. So let's look at that. Both sounds in this scenario are long. Curt, caught. Curt, caught. Hi Kai, hope you're doing well. Hi Khaled, hope you're doing well as well. So the key here, versus or, is space for 1.5 fingers, curt, caught, there's space for 2 fingers, and the mouth, I beg your pardon, and the lips are rounded. Curt is unrounded and relaxed. Curt, curt, curt. And this one here, caught, caught, caught. The lips are rounded. Or. Okay? If you have any questions, ask away. And what I'm going to do now is just recap all of the words one after the other so you can hear how it's all come together. We had coat, 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 the diphthong O, coat. Curt was the next one down. Curt, curt, long English vowel sound We've then got the short English vowel sound cat, The real key, if you only take one thing from this, and I hope you take a lot more than one thing away from this tutorial, but if you only take one thing away, for it's 2 fingers in between the teeth and the width of the lips. Like I said, it's the rectangle here behind me. Then we've got the long English vowel sound or, as in caught or I taught pronunciation. We've then got the short English vowel sound cut. We've got for cart, shopping cart, or are you going to be here, or it's Japan where the Rugby World Cup is far away. And finally, we've got the short English vowel sound as in cot. Okay? So I hope you found this tutorial useful. I'm sure you've been able to take some things from it. I'd love to know, comment below, letting me know what some of the takeaways are that you've taken from this tutorial. Again, the easiest way I find to teach vowel sounds, I've never found any really easy and effective ways of teaching them. So that's why I created one using fingers to feel the difference, because that's a very logical and easy way to feel the difference. 2 fingers, 1.5 fingers, And 2 is just thinking for long vowel sounds, the 2-second rule is vital. If you can't make a long vowel sound for 2 seconds when you're practicing, cart, then when you say cart in a conversation and you're speaking a lot quicker, it's probably just going to sound like a cat or a cot. Okay. Hi Anton, hope you're doing well. Thanks for tuning in. You've caught me right at the very end of the tutorial. So comment below with any questions that you've got. I'd love to know what the biggest takeaway is from this tutorial. And if you found this tutorial useful, then I've got tons of other tutorials out there on vowel sounds and consonant sounds. But I'd really, really recommend, if you find any of these words difficult to tell, to recognize, thank you very much, Lisa. Glad you found it useful. If you find any of these words hard to differentiate between, or if you ever find yourself getting asked to repeat yourself when you're saying any of these words, or getting some funny looks or anything like that, then just go through this tutorial again and again and again, ask me any questions and I'll answer them. Because again, there's quite a few ones here, but the reason why I've covered quite a few in this tutorial is because they can all sound confusing and very similar. To close, what I will do is I will go through them all at native speed, at conversational speed, so you can just hear whether you can actually hear them at native speed or quick conversational speed or not, okay? So I'm going to say the first one, I bought a coat on Tuesday. He was very curt with me when I spoke to him. My cat is doing well. I caught a cold when I went out in the winter snow. I cut myself when I was in the kitchen the other day. What was next? My shopping cart in Amazon is full of things that I want to buy. And finally, cot. I just bought my baby a new cot. Okay. Can you hear the difference? I hope you can. Tay, thank you. What did you say? Thank you for the tutorial. I'm glad it's been very useful for you. As I said, let me know what the most valuable takeaway has been for you. There'll be more tutorials like this coming out on a regular basis, so tune in for the next one. Thank you for watching. I hope you're having a lovely Thursday evening. Tomorrow's Friday, so weekend's almost here. I'll see you in the next tutorial.